Every video game has its share of challenging levels, but some can be more frustrating than others. Then there are those that take it up a notch, thoroughly testing your will to survive and thrive in the harshest circumstances. Let's take a look at 15 of those locations here. Before we go ahead, please consider subscribing to our channel. We upload new videos every single day, and your support really helps us out. With that out of the way, let's start. Celeste, Farewell, Subchapter 9. Anyone who's played the B-side and C-side levels of Celeste knows the amount of precision platforming required. Farewell, the post-launch 9th chapter, is no exception, providing numerous new objects and challenges over the span of its numerous subchapters. It all culminates in the 9th subchapter, a single continuous screen of parachutes, spikes, feathers, springs, and much more, with one mistake requiring a do-over. Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, Fountainhead Palace. It's hard to really pinpoint what makes Fountainhead Palace so annoying. The area itself is fairly large, meaning that you'll have more space to explore. Enemies are also generally more spaced out, until you get electrocuted while in the water or devoured by the giant carp that's in there. Trying to properly explore the level is tough enough, but it's made even more trying with all the Okami warriors, especially those with ranged attacks. Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, Ashina Castle, Endgame. Of course, Fountainhead Palace pales in comparison to Ashina Castle in the endgame. The area may have devolved into fighting between Ashina troops and the Interior Ministry's forces, but several foes like red-eyed Nightjar ninjas and Shumi Masaji Oniwa of the 7 Ashina spears will still fight you. Further exploration yields even more terrifying threats, like the Demon of Hatred. Demon's Souls, Valley of Defilement 5-1. Ah, the Valley of Defilement. You'd think being murdered by constantly rolling skeletons or mind flayers in the other levels would be rough. But the Valley of Defilement 5-1 throws heaps of foes who can either burn or poison you depending on their weapons, and extremely narrow paths to traverse. Maybe you'll fall to your death, or just land awkwardly in a room of foes. Maybe a swarm of rats will whittle down your health, or a giant depraved one will slam you. So many ways to die, so little time. Super Mario Odyssey, Long Journey's End. The post-game content of Super Mario Odyssey scratched the itch of those craving more challenges. But Darker Side is a whole other matter. Simply reaching it requires 500 power moons. What follows is Long Journey's End, a gauntlet of challenges that will test your skills. It even has 8-bit platforming sections and the Bowser segment from the main story. Oh, and before we forget, die once and you need to start from the very beginning. Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair, the Impossible Lair. Impossible is putting it lightly, really. The entire point of the game is freeing enough battalion members in order to have additional hit points when tackling the lair. It's chock full of platforming challenges and traps, requires defeating 4 bosses in total, and has no checkpoints. Several situations like bottomless pits will also result in your demise. However you choose to attempt it, the Impossible Lair is unforgiving. Darkest Dungeon, the Darkest Dungeon. The titular Darkest Dungeon is hyped as being the toughest challenge in the game. Retreating requires sacrificing a party member. Pretty much every attack will stack stress, and on Darkest and Stygian difficulty, heroes will refuse to go back after completing a quest here. Each quest requires careful selection of classes for specific roles, like healing stress, bleed, or blight, while also dealing with some of the toughest mini-bosses in the game. This is all even before facing off against the Heart of Darkness itself, with its multiple phases and forcing you to choose 2 heroes to sacrifice during the fight. Spelunky 2 Cosmic Ocean. Spelunky is revered as one of the best roguelite titles of all time, but it was also brutally difficult. Spelunky 2 goes even further with the Cosmic Ocean. Not only do you have to fulfill certain conditions to reach it, but then there's the actual ocean itself, which meshes together every single other level into random combinations. Anything can happen, and you need to scour each level to destroy celestial orbs to clear the exit of celestial jelly. And a second will spawn after 3 minutes, so you have to be quick too. No shops, pets, or altars are available either, and it's a harrowing 95 levels that must be beaten for the third ending. Into the Gungeon, Bullet Hell. Reaching Bullet Hell, the 6th and final chamber of Enter the Gungeon, is a task unto itself. You need to kill the pasts of the 4 regular Gungeoneers and then go back to the Aimless Void to access it. In it are some of the most challenging rooms and enemies in the game, culminating in a 3-phase boss battle with the Lich. And you'd better go in prepared, because there are no shops or treasure rooms to be found. Baba Is You, the Return of Scenic Pond. Despite its cutesy appearance, the puzzles of Baba Is You will test you. There's no better example than the Return of Scenic Pond, the 12th level of Meta. Trying to explain the mechanics necessary to clear it will warrant a full explanation of the game's intricacies. Long story short, make sure you're open to experimenting with all kinds of text combinations, messing about with the environment, cloning Baba, crushing Baba, and so on before attempting it. Hollow Knight, Pantheon of Hallownest. The Pantheon of Hallownest is the final boss rush challenge and easily the toughest yet. It contains almost every boss in the game, many upgraded to tougher states. How many bosses are we talking about? 42 in total, 41 if you're lucky enough to never face Grey Prince Zote, though you do get hot springs, benches, and other resting spots every few fights. The toughest bosses in the game await at the end though, including absolute radiance with near-instant beam attacks, constant spikes, and faster movement among other dangers. Dead Cells, the Cavern. Added in the first major DLC, the Cavern is home to the Giant. It's also full of tough foes and dangerous traps, which is saying something given how a run usually goes in Dead Cells. But if the ground shakers don't crush you with rocks, or the slammers kill you with their ice, neither of which can be blocked or parried by the way, then the failed experiments, other knights and skeletons will do you in. The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, Stone Tower Temple. The Stone Tower Temple is one of the most difficult dungeons in any Zelda game. There's regular and inverted exploration, the latter seeing you explore while everything is upside down. You'll need to utilize all of the different masks to progress, and the layout is as convoluted as it is challenging. On the plus side, you're treated to Giant Link absolutely wrecking the boss, so that's nice. Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time, Cortex Castle. The final level of the game has a simple but harrowing purpose: to test your mastery of each and every skill. You'll need to materialize platforms with abject timing in order to jump across, while also avoiding laser nets, slow time to jump on razor blades across acid pits, and of course, deal with TNT. Lots of TNT. It's an incredibly tough but fitting challenge to close the game out. TOUHOU 4 Lotus Land Story Extra Stage. Choosing a Touhou game seems like cheating, especially how brutal some of the Danmaku shooting games can be. Nevertheless, the extra stage from Touhou 4 Lotus Land Story deserves a mention. The sheer plethora of bullets to dodge is absolutely nuts, and that's before dealing with the bosses. Mugetsu is tough, but Gengetsu is simply maddening. You need to be incredibly precise with dodging her projectiles, which is easier said than done with how many are going off. Clear it though, and you are indeed a super player. And with that, we've reached the end of this video. Have anything to say? Let us know in the comments below. Also, we upload new videos every single day on GamingBolt, so please consider subscribing as it really helps us out. Thanks for watching.